She's alive, Daddy, and her name is Taki Tina. She's alive, My name is Taki Tina, and I love you very much. She's alive, My name is Taki Tina, and I think I could even hate you.
My name is Eric Strader. I'm going to get rid of you.
You wouldn't dare. My name is Taki Tina, and I'm beginning to hate you. And you'll be sorry. And you'll be sorry.
You'll be sorry. You'll be sorry. You'll be sorry. You'll be sorry. You'll be sorry.
Howdy, all you ghouls and goblins, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, That Would Be Rad. We're a podcast that majors in 80s and 90s nostalgia, comic culture, all things paranormal, and minors in retro video games, tabletop RPGs, pre-internet mysteries, and raising our kids to be half as cool as we were back in the 80s. We are your hosts, Woody Brown
and Tyler Bentz.
There we go. How you doing?
Good, pal.
Man, you know, sometimes you just have a little too much candy corn in your blood.
Yeah,
And you get a little excited and you kind of trip up on the intro. I'm talking about myself, of course. Here.
But hey, it's content for the patrons.
Mm-hmm. Or just like the after show extras here.
Yeah. By the way, I do like this this new thing that you just did where in the past, if one of us messes up, we just immediately are like, okay, hold on, let me take it again. And then we do it again. This time you go, I liked it. Like,
Yeah, I was arguing with you because I thought it was great.
I'm not budging. Yeah.
They don't call me One Take Woody for nothing. Okay.
Okay.
Now, last week, we dove into the strange world of the Black-Eyed Kids. We talked a little bit about just kids being creepy in general. We had several listeners either on our Instagram or writing comments on the podcast itself on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And sending us messages kind of agreeing and telling their story and versions of the story of, you know, their own kids creeping them out. So we don't stand alone there.
Yeah.
But we kind of briefly mentioned something else that just creeps us out in this sort of world of, I don't know, kids and kids' toys and all that.
Yeah. There's definitely like a little sort of theme emerging, if you will.
Yeah. This week, we're diving into something that's been giving people the creeps, well, I mean, probably ever since they existed, and that is dolls. Now, there is just something about dolls in general, especially like those old porcelain ones. We talked about that last week. That feels just sort of like off and weird. It's, you know, a combination of like these glassy eyes that sort of never quite look away.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the way that they sit perfectly still up on a shelf, like they're waiting for the right move. You know, let's say you're visiting family, it's Thanksgiving, you know, you got to go and sleep in your cousin's room. And, you know, your cousin has a bunch of these dang porcelain dolls, just like, I don't know, the way that they're leaning on those shelves, just looking at you. It's just something creepy about that, you know?
Yeah. And they're always like, it's almost like they never really were created to actually like just sit properly. So they're always kind of like leaning against something, you know, so they're always kind of like off to the side sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, I will say, you know, from our childhood, I remember watching like Child's Play, and that movie specifically, it never really scared me actually, because in my mind, I was like, I'll just kick that stupid doll halfway to oblivion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt like beatable. Still does. But then you go to like movies like another 80s movie called Dolls, and that one kind of creeped me out a little bit more for a different reason. You know, I don't really necessarily want to spoil it for everybody, but I'll go ahead and tell you. In that movie, there's like this couple that lives in this old house. The whole like premise of the movie is this father and I think his like new wife and his daughter from another marriage end up having to go into this house. Well, these people, you have to make it through the night, and they basically judge you. And if you are evil, they turn you into a doll. And
Wait,
so
they turn you into a doll?
They turn you into a dang doll, man. And so that was freaky. The movie itself, I mean, it's like barely over an hour. It's on Tubi, I think, right now, so you can go and watch it. I just spoiled it for you, but
You sure did.
it's all right.
I always think of like Puppet Master.
Puppet
Remember,
Master, that was a good one. Those little things. It's the
Yeah.
same thing, man. It's like I'm just going to stomp on you.
Well, it's funny you're saying this because I just saw, I mean, it was like 2 days ago. Somebody had like, I mean, it's all AI, but like it looks so good. But it was like they had done like Child's Play, like Chucky, and like it's literally like cops chasing after him, and they literally just do that. They just kick him down, and they're just stepping on his back as they're putting the cuffs on him.
Dude, if you go back and watch that movie, which I watched it with my oldest not too long ago, actually, it's hilarious, man. Every time they show Chucky running, you're just like, dude, the poor like short guy that they had, his head's bigger, because he's just like wearing a mask. He's like gong 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 gong. It's just so.
Actually, real quick, sorry. Is this what you're talking about? Because I don't recognize.
Yes, that's the little girl from the movie. Look at that doll that she's holding, dude.
Yeah, what's the one with the yeah, I don't recognize that at all.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but it's even creepier. So you should watch it. It's creepy. I'd seen it a long, long time ago. Completely forgot about it. I think it probably scarred me. But even sort of beyond these sort of so you got what is it? Child's Play. You've got this one, Dolls, which is pretty on the nose there. You've got Puppet Master.
Yeah.
Of course, obviously, a more modern one. There's like, I think it's called Dead Silence. Came out, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or, maybe 7 years ago. It's got Donnie Wahlberg and like a ventriloquist type doll. You've got Goosebumps, Slappy.
Oh, yeah.
You've got,
Classic.
anyways, this trope that just came back. And of course, like a more modern movie about some real life events, one of which, of course, we're going to talk about in a second because you kind of have to when you're talking about haunted dolls and stuff.
Speaking of dolls, by the way, and I know I keep trying to derail here, but I actually took my kids to a toy convention. Never been to one. My oldest is really into Marvel Legends, so if you have any 6-inch Marvel Legends figures out there that you want to send my way, I'll take a few. Woody will take a few. But yeah, it's called Joe Lanta, and I think it started out being like a G.I. Joe thing.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, dude, it ended up being awesome. We ended up walking away with like just tons of stuff.
Tons of haunted dolls.
All haunted. Yeah.
That's really cool. I think Wizards was there, man.
Yeah, they were. I talked to Dustin. I ran into him. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I was like, yeah, I couldn't get Woody to come.
Well, we had the softball game. Come on, man. We gotta stay on task here because here's the thing. Even beyond like all the Hollywood treatments of this trope, there are real life stories about haunted dolls that are everywhere.
Yeah.
Dolls people swear have moved on their own. Dolls that whisper. Dolls that seem to bring bad luck. Today we're going to be digging into the famous ones that you've heard about.
Yeah.
The creepy oddballs that you definitely haven't. And then some of the truly haunted places where dolls seem to congregate. All right, so let's kick it off with the two legends that everyone brings up when they hear haunted doll. If you've seen The Conjuring, then you already know that one of the most chilling parts of the whole franchise isn't just the Perron family's haunted farmhouse. It's Annabelle. That creepy doll has practically, honestly, man, I mean, it's become a horror icon in her own right. Because, of course, they released a movie just about her, and I think countless sequels, I don't even know.
Which, by the way, thinking back, I don't know that I've seen like just the spinoff Annabelle movie.
I feel like I might have. I don't know. I'd spent like a week one time because I had never seen them. Everybody listening knows that I typically shy away from like any kind of the spiritual
demonic
type
stuff.
Movies, possession. I just don't like them. But our buddy Dan was like, "No, man, you gotta check it out." And they are freaky, man. They were really good. And I can't remember if I saw Annabelle or not, or at least the sequel.
I just remember when it first came out, just being like, this just feels like a money grab. This is going to be super cheesy.
Well, and like a lot of sort of based on true story movies, Hollywood kind of took some liberties here. The doll in the movie is this pale, sort of cracked-faced monster with pigtails, really like perfectly designed to look terrifying from the get.
Yeah. You're exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about the ceramic head, like the Victorian sort of thing. Yeah.
But in reality, the real Annabelle was just a standard sort of Raggedy Ann doll.
Right.
Which when I found that out, I was kind of like, man, that sucks. You know?
Yeah.
Everybody our age knows what that is. But in case you're younger and you don't know what a Raggedy Ann doll is, it's, it's got like a white face, a triangle nose, red yarn hair. So many generations of kids grew up, having one of those.
Oh, yeah. I had both of them.
Oh, you had a Raggedy Ann and a Raggedy Andy?
Yeah, I don't know.
Isn't that what his name is?
I thought they all came, they always came like as the pair, but I guess not.
Yeah, I don't know. I never had them.
I mean, I never like played with them, but I remember as a kid it just being like
around.
Yeah, them just being around.
Alive, just walking around.
Just hanging out, yeah.
So the doll that would later be called Annabelle was purchased in 1970 from an antique shop by a woman who wanted to give it as a birthday gift to her daughter, Donna, who had just graduated from nursing school. I'm just saying, you just graduated from nursing school.
Yeah, kind of.
Put the dolls away.
Strange choice.
Anyway, Donna wasn't really a doll person, just like we're saying, but she thought it was a sweet gesture, so she kept it in the apartment she shared with her roommate, Angie.
Raggedy Angie.
Raggedy Angie. Terrible dad joke. At first, it was just kind of there. Tossed on the bed. Didn't even think twice about it. But soon, Donna started noticing something odd. The doll kept changing positions on its own. Of course, at first she brushed it off. Maybe the blanket shifted. Maybe, someone bumped it. But then things began to escalate because one night they came home to find the doll sitting upright in a chair in the dining room. Almost like it froze mid-stride when it heard them walk in.
Wow.
Donna later told Ed and Lorraine Warren, she said, "I put it on my bed each morning after the bed was made. The arms would be off to its sides and its legs would be straight out, just like it's sitting there now. But when we'd come home at night, the arms and legs would be positioned in different gestures. For instance, its legs would be crossed at the ankles or its arms would be folded in its lap. So to test it, I purposely crossed its arms and legs in the morning to see if it was really moving. And sure enough, every night when we'd come back home, the arms and legs would be uncrossed and the thing would be sitting there in any of a dozen different postures. Things got even stranger because Angie, her roommate, said that the doll also changed rooms by itself.
Okay.
She said, quote, "We came home one night and the Annabelle doll was sitting in a chair by the front door. It was kneeling. The funny thing about it was when we tried to make the doll kneel, it would just fall over. It couldn't do it."
Yeah, that's the thing. For our folks that don't know what the Raggedy Ann or Raggedy Andy dolls were, they're like long limbs, like with cloth that are just filled with like, what do you call it? Like
just
like
like fabric filler,
like
cotton.
filler. And so there's no, unlike the Annabelle that you know of in like the movie and stuff, there's no way of like holding a position. Like they just kind of like flop
around
later. Yeah. Because I just thought of this. I bet any of our younger listeners are just like,
what does that mean?
Yeah, what are they talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, so that alone would be freaky enough. But I think in a way, besides the moving different rooms, if it was just like, well, now I crossed the arms, but then they came undone. Not that scary.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Go into a different room. What the heck's happening here? Maybe Raggedy Angie's trying to pull one over on me.
Right.
But check this out. Then notes started appearing. Donna and Angie found slips of parchment paper that they didn't even own, scrawled with childlike handwriting that read, "Help us," and "Help Lou." Donna said this. She said, quote, "It would leave us little notes and messages." The handwriting looked to be that of a small child. The notes would be written in pencil, but when we try to find one, there's not a single pencil in the apartment. So apparently the Lou in question was a friend of theirs who immediately hated the doll. He insisted something evil was attached to it. And as if to prove him right, things began to escalate yet again. One night, the girls came home to find the doll oozing blood from its hands and chest. For them, that was the breaking point. They reached out to a medium who claimed the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins had died on the property and wanted to live in the doll. Donna explained it this way. She said, because everyone around here was grown up and only concerned with their jobs, there was no one she, Annabelle, could relate to except for us. Annabelle felt that we would be able to understand her. All Annabelle wanted was to be loved, and so she asked if she could stay with us and move into the doll. What could we do? So we said, yes. Now,
Wait. So you're
I'm
saying the medium...
Donna is, this is a quote directly from Donna. She said that the medium is telling her this stuff. Like, hey, you're closer to her age. She just wants to be here and wants to be loved. Can she just move into this doll and live here? And Donna and Raggedy Angie say, yeah. Now, of course, all of us that have heard of Annabelle the doll, have watched The Conjuring, all this stuff, know that this turned out to be a huge mistake.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Their buddy Lou continued to feel that the doll was dangerous, and one night he had a terrifying experience, all right? He describes waking up paralyzed only to see Annabelle slowly gliding up his body.
So is the medium saying that this spirit or entity, are they saying that it was the spirit of a young girl, or it wanted to like be like, I guess I missed that. Like, what are they saying there?
The spirit of the young girl wanted to inhabit this doll, and while doing so...
So it already was the spirit of a young girl.
Yeah. The spirit, and her name was Annabelle, and that's where the name Annabelle came from.
Right.
Didn't know? Said it right anyway. Okay, Lou says it moved over his chest and then stopped. Then it put its arms out. One arm touching the side of his neck, the other touched the other side like it was making an electrical connection. Then he saw himself being strangled. It was literally strangling him to death. He said that he couldn't help himself no matter how hard he tried. He had like sleep paralysis, and then this doll was like choking him out. He even blacked out, man, eventually, waking up convinced that it had been a dream. But days later, he was attacked again, this time with deep claw-like scratches across his chest.
What were the scratches?
Also, you know, is he laying in bed with Angie? Is he laying in bed with Donna? Where's this guy?
Right.
Is he on a couch? Why is he couch hopping? Like, get a job, man.
Yeah, that's the real question.
You know, okay, so at this point, Donna, Angie, and Lou knew that they were way out of their depth. They reached out for help, and eventually the case landed with none other than the infamous Ed and Lorraine Warren. So after investigating, Ed made it pretty clear. He says, to begin with, so Ed is quoted in saying, this is after he investigates it, okay? He says, to begin with, there is no Annabelle. There never was. You were duped. However, we are dealing with a spirit here. But ghosts, human spirits, plain and simply can't bring on a phenomena of this nature and intensity. They don't have the power.
Right.
I thought he was going to say, there's no Annabelle, you've been duped, however, for $1,000.
Yeah, right.
So in other words, what he's saying is it wasn't a little girl, it was something much darker. Which is even more terrifying, right? So it's a demon, and worse, by inviting, quote, Annabelle into the doll, the girls, and here it is, folks, you'll remember this, had given it permission.
Permission. There's the transaction we talked about last week.
So the Warrens performed an exorcism blessing. They removed the doll from the apartment, but even in their care, Annabelle caused problems. It stalled their car, levitating, moving from room to room, and even terrifying priests who encountered her. Eventually, they sealed her into a special case at their occult museum in Connecticut, and on the glass in big, bold letters, they added a warning that says, "Positively, do not open."
Yeah. Now, I do have a question on this. They talked about like an exorcism. I wonder if you could do the exorcism, and actually, man, this really ties into next week's topic, but I wonder if you could do the exorcism to take the entity out of the doll.
I think that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah, but then they still had the doll, and it's like, yeah, it's haunted.
Now for $1,000, I can give you
1,000.
Yeah, now $1,500, we can get the spirit out of the doll. $1,000, we'll go ahead and just keep it.
Yeah. I mean, I do have issue with the scratches. Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy's do not have. They don't even have fingers. It's almost like a mitten. They had.
But maybe it grew like demon claws.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, it's kind of it's terrifying.
But then, like the blood. Thing,
right.
There's just elements of this that feel kind of like over the top, sort of in a way. But
well, I mean, all it does, it's a doll,
Right. Well, and also, I mean, honestly, I say all this, but then, and I think I even brought it up last episode, but I've said it a million times for you longtime listeners, and you're probably tired of it. But for the person who this is their brand new episode, my own sort of orb thing, when I became like obsessed, I opened myself up to something else. And then then it became very sort of malevolent with these sort of flashes, this feeling of dread. So it like really amped it up. And so maybe the deal, the sort of the transaction, the deal with like involving the medium and saying, oh, sure, yeah, the spirit can inhabit this doll. Maybe in that you're kind of giving that spirit, like you're kind of equipping it with its natural sort of ability.
Right.
So now it's able to scratch. Now it's able to like basically teleport from room to room kind of thing.
And use that little whatever it's inhabiting, as its almost mode of transportation. And,
it's just like a vessel.
This is a good spot for me to remind everybody that I believe we talked about Annabelle briefly and just almost like a listing when we talked about cursed objects and stuff and the Dybbuk box and all these kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have talked before about how there's the potential that things can inhabit objects, potentially. So
yeah, right.
Moving along here, probably the equally famous case that people think about when they hear about, haunted dolls. And if you think of Annabelle as basically the Hollywood queen of creepy, Robert the doll is America's OG haunted troublemaker, man.
Yeah, before Annabelle made like the movies, Robert was the haunted doll, pretty much.
I mean, he's a Key West fixture, and obviously a must stop on ghost tours, and he's actually one of the inspirations for Chucky in Child's Play. So Robert originally belonged to Key West painter and author Robert Eugene Otto. Back in 1906, a Bahamian maid reportedly gave young Robert the doll and then cursed it after Robert's parents displeased her. That's when things around the Otto house took a hard left into the bizarre. Young Robert loved talking to his namesake, and the servants swore the doll talked back, so apparently they'd named the doll Robert.
Now, one thing that I will say is, and I just sent you a photo.
Yeah, no, it's just terrifying looking.
Dude, yeah, one thing that I can say, Annabelle, it's like, yeah, it's pretty scary once you know the lore and you kind of start associating like what you know of the story and everything. But with Robert, that doll is like one of those old handmade kind of dolls. It is like straight up terrifying.
Yeah. And like the thing about these things too is age
Oh, yeah.
only makes it scarier looking.
Mm-hmm.
Young Robert loved talking to his namesake, and the servants swore that the doll talked back. They said that the thing could change expressions at will and wander the house on its own. Neighbors claimed that they'd see Robert moving from window to window when the family was out, and folks in the house heard maniacal giggles coming from the toy. Daytime was unsettling enough, but nighttime is when Robert really went to work on the kid. The boy would bolt awake, screaming, because heavy furniture in his bedroom crashed to the floor. Every time his parents demanded an explanation, the answer never changed. Robert did it. It was Robert. I mean, this is just like Child's Play. The poor kid's just getting blamed and blamed. And if you look at it, that was one thing that I really enjoyed about rewatching that movie and this story in general here, is that if you're looking at it through sort of the eyes of being a parent, dude, you go upstairs and be like, what? No, that doesn't exist. You knocked over this or you did that, right? And that's
Isn't
what makes
funny?
it terrifying, man.
Because I remember seeing that as a kid and being like so pissed off at the parents.
Yeah.
But, now, us as parents, you're like, oh, that's 100% the response.
Yeah, you go into your kitchen right now and there's cereal just sprayed everywhere. And one of your kids is going to say, oh, Robert the doll did it.
Right.
You're going to lose your stuff, man.
Yeah. The other thing, too, about Robert is like he's, for our listeners here that haven't checked him out yet, he's almost the size of a kid. Mm-hmm. So he's not like a tiny Raggedy Andy doll. Like he's almost full size. He has like, regular hands. He has like a head that's like on a neck that goes into a body. Like it's very anatomically correct.
Wow. Okay.
Which is
You've seen under the pants.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean like he, a lot of those dolls, especially if they're wearing like, a suit or whatever, it's like there's a lack of detail, whatever is like covering, but everything that I see on Robert looks like there's sort of.
If you were far away, you would think, man, that kid, is he burnt?
It looks like a kid. Yeah.
A little like scary as a kid, but.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit. Robert Eugene Otto passes away in 1974, and the notorious doll is then placed on display at the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West. That's where another layer of this legend kind of takes over, because supposedly Robert curses anyone who takes his photo without permission.
I've heard this.
So how do you know he's granted the permission? Well, folks, by a slight tilt of his head. Now,
oh man,
if you forget, apparently, you can always sort of beg for forgiveness, like the Travel Channel cameraman reportedly did after their HD camera mysteriously stopped working.
Which is a classic.
Yeah, so basically, that's kind of the gist about Robert. I mean, he's kind of infamous in a way because people go and visit him at this, in Key West. Mm-hmm. And then he's just known for, at the time, back in the early 1900s, mid-1900s, running around this house and doing all this stuff. And like you said, man, so far in our list, we've had Annabelle, Raggedy Ann doll. Not terrifying, but, it could be creepy. This is the beginning of, it just looks creepy.
Oh, yeah. The other thing that it kind of adds to the scare factor is, for you, we'll have photos and stuff on Instagram, but if you look up Robert the Doll, you'll see, and I think this is probably in his like more recent sort of setting, like he's behind glass, and you'll see all these like letters. What's interesting is all these letters are from people so sort of part of this sort of, I don't want to say new lore, but like part of the lore is like people that take pictures or whatever. It's like they find that they're seeing some activity once they go home. These letters are from the people writing in apologizing to Robert.
And
that's after they go home.
When strange stuff is happening to them.
And it's happening, right. And so that's the way that you you reclaim your peace in your home, is you have to write a letter to apologize to Robert. And so that's why, like, if you look at the display, it's like
just tons and tons of letters.
Hundreds of letters all around him, which is like, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, to me, like, and I know we're not getting into sort of our thoughts on what some of this stuff is, but to me, like, that feels very much like, oh, you've created a tulpa, you've created this like thought form kind of thing, and it is interesting because it's almost this sort of particular case. It's interesting because the letters in response, it's almost like a reverse transaction or a reverse permission. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you're kind of like asking him to, like, like chill out.
Well, and it's like in doing that, you're not only giving it power, you're also admitting its power. And that's
right,
kind of
exactly.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch me looking to rob it.
No, it's pretty nuts.
All right, when we get back from a quick break, we're going to go into some of these that I would say are less famous, but equally terrifying.
Love it.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
When it comes to what your family eats and drinks, you know your choices matter. You're the expert because you know what fits your life. And getting it right starts with good information. That's why America's beverage companies are sharing more information about our ingredients at goodtoknowfacts.org. No spin, no judgments, just the facts straight from the experts for more than 140 beverage ingredients. Visit goodtoknowfacts.org.
Living with schizophrenia isn't easy, especially when you're not getting relief from some of your symptoms. It can be hard when you're still dealing with symptoms, like hearing voices or seeing things that aren't there. And negative symptoms, like feeling unmotivated or avoiding social situations. If this sounds familiar, it might be time to talk to your healthcare provider and explore a different kind of schizophrenia treatment. Discover your possibilities at treatingscz.com.
Shopping is hard, right? But I found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And he sends just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what works and send back the rest. It's so easy. Make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man.
Hey, this is Woody.
And this is Tyler. And you're listening to That Would Be Rad.
And now, back to our show. So now we're going to move away from the famous ones and more into the shadows here. And these are, again, the lesser known dolls. But trust me, they're every bit as terrifying, if not more, honestly, because, well, you'll see. Let's start with one that's been described as possibly the most dangerous haunted doll out there. I just showed Tyler a picture of it.
Whoa, this one is?
This one. Her name is Peggy.
Wow.
Back in 2014, British paranormal investigator Jane Harris was contacted by a woman who was absolutely desperate to get rid of a doll that she'd picked up at a fair. The woman was frantic. She's, claiming that ever since she brought it home, her life had turned into a nightmare. She was dealing with things like phantom footsteps at night, shadows in the hallway, flickering lights, and this, which is especially strange, man, clouds of flies buzzing around Peggy. And it wasn't just spooky atmosphere. The owner said simply being in Peggy's presence made her dizzy, nauseous, weak, and even caused chest pains. She nearly fainted multiple times, and it felt like the doll was psychically attacking her. Her sleep was wrecked with fevers, hallucinations, and, of course, recurring nightmares. Nightmares, man, that persisted no matter where she moved the doll in her house. She even brought in a priest, not once, but twice. However, nothing seemed to change. So finally, in what Harris described as an urgent cry for help, the woman begged her to take Peggy away. Now, Harris, who, these people always amaze me, she collects haunted items, okay? And she runs an organization, in fact, called, you guessed it, Frank Stallone.
Gets me every time.
Anyway, the organization's called Haunted Dolls, okay? From the moment she brought Peggy home, the activity didn't stop. In fact, it escalated. Harris began to notice unexplained sounds. The doll still drew flies and even caused light bulbs to explode. Now, more disturbing were these other more physical effects that Peggy had on people. Chest pains, dizziness, panic attacks, profuse sweating, and in some cases, much worse.
Now, for our listeners that are unable to see this, Peggy to me looks
kind of like your mom.
No, it looks like 60s, 70s style.
Like housewife doll.
Yeah, but what was the doll's name?
Doll's eyes.
Doll's eyes. No, what was the name of the doll that looked really similar?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Peggy.
Oh, no, my mouse just died.
Good. Harris reported that one woman suffered a heart attack, dude. And another one, just 27 years old, had a stroke after spending the night alone with Peggy. Now, I don't know why.
Yeah, dude.
You would spend the night alone with Peggy. I mean, to be fair, they're trying to investigate, right? And they're trying to figure it out. They might not be scared by that stuff. I'm not spending the night with Peggy. I'm melting her. I'm throwing her in a fire. Like, why don't these people do this? Why don't they just say, here's Peggy, put it in a fire, burn it?
You know what's interesting, though, is like, I think I remember reading an article around the time of like the Annabelle thing. And it had talked, and we've talked about a little bit of this, like the, these hands, what was it called? These hands, the haunted like painting, remember?
Yes.
We've talked about it. Something about the hands to hold you or something like that. It was, sold on eBay as like a cursed item. Well, I remember reading an article as well around the time of like the Annabelle thing, and there being this huge uptick of like haunted items being sold. And some of the prices would just go nuts. Like they would be, insanely expensive, and people specifically just wanted to buy these like cursed items. And it's like, to me, it's like, okay, 99.9% of people are just, they're just kind of playing off of the hype of oh man, yeah, I have a cursed item too. Here's this doll for $2,000. But it does like kind of bring me back around to like what you're saying, how you're like, why won't these people just throw this thing out or burn it?
But remember, in some of those things that we've talked about, now I'm like answering my own question here. Sometimes that either makes the entity more angry, it doesn't solve the problem, and there's all this other stuff that happens around it too.
Right.
Let's keep going with Peggy here.
Yeah. Well, real quick though, do we know? I said it looks like something out of the 60s or 70s. Do we know like the origin of? Because it looks like a mass-produced kind of doll.
No, we don't.
Would say.
Okay. But get this, man, and now I'm starting to get scared since I showed you this picture, because
cool.
People who've seen Peggy on a screen claim that their computers will freeze.
Dude,
I know. Your mouse died.
My mouse literally just died.
Now, dogs watching her on TV reportedly go berserk. And mediums working with Harris have described the spirit inside Peggy as restless, frustrated, and previously persecuted, possibly even tied to the Holocaust. Harris, who tries to begin each case as a skeptic, has admitted that Peggy changed her. She calls Peggy possibly the most vindictive and dangerous doll she's ever encountered. Harris has even said, man, that Peggy seems to fight back against exposure. During one session, Harris scribbled notes while a pendulum went wild in Peggy's presence. The next morning, the notebook had somehow been moved to a place so high that her husband had to use a ladder to retrieve it. As Harris has put it, she says, many people who saw Peggy's picture felt that she didn't want me to share the information that I had gained. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and honestly, like, that's the kind of stuff, you know, where I was kind of showing my doubts a little with the Annabelle story of like, okay, like, you know, there's blood all over its hands. It's like scratching, even though it doesn't have claws. But like the weird little high strangeness stuff, like suddenly like a notebook is, you know, up on like the tallest shelf that no one can reach. Like that's the stuff that brings me back in where I'm like, okay, that feels like strange enough.
But not outlandish. Well, I will say this, though. Right. If I'm thinking about it, if your wife was a paranormal investigator,
right,
this is totally something you would have done to be like, I don't know, I got to get a ladder to reach it, but you definitely moved it.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe her husband was a goofball.
One of the things that's interesting is I have seen videos of, you know, it's like time-lapse footage of, which, by the way, we had just talked about this the other day, but little known fact, Matt Rife, the industry plant comedian that just had a rise to fame out of nowhere, he actually bought Ed and Lorraine Warren's house as well as their haunted museum, which I believe still has Annabelle in it. And so I will say that I've seen time-lapse stuff where it shows the doll, and you really do see like tiny little movements. You know, I mean, it's like, that's where I kind of feel like, you know, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is like totally true, you know, with the blood and the claws and scratching and stuff. But like, to me, I feel like that kind of actually takes away a little from like the actual weird, you know, sort of paranormal aspects of it, to where you're seeing these like tiny little like movements over the course of like several hours. Like to me, like that's crazy. Like that's next level. Like that's way easier for me to believe, you know? And it's like something is actually happening with this doll.
It's just like weevils in there eating the crap. They're so old. I mean, goodness gracious.
I mean, that could be the case too.
All right. So Peggy on her own is pretty freaky, you know, causing these like physical, almost like visceral reactions to people that they can't control, you know, these physical reactions. Well, if that's not unsettling enough, in this case, there's a doll that doesn't just creep people out, but it fights back. Enter in the picture this doll, Janet, and I'm showing Tyler the picture.
Terrifying.
Yeah, right. It just keeps on ramping up in terms of the terror. And
now this does look like the Annabelle from the movies.
Right. And this one belongs to paranormal investigator Mickey York. And like I said, the doll's name is Janet. And Janet isn't just any antique toy. She's a 119-year-old vintage doll from Texas. Mickey York got her in 2016 after a family begged him to take her. They didn't want any money. In fact, they even paid to ship her overseas to the UK. And that's how desperate they were to get her out of the house. At first, York didn't even know her name. But during a spirit box session, he asked, and the attached spirit responded, Janet. From the start, she wasn't shy about showing her personality. In fact, York says that she actually cursed at him through the box and described her as mean. Adding to the creep factor, Janet has teeth, but no eyes. And so York thinks the spirit inside might be a child who can't see out. And then comes the activity. Janet reportedly blinks, even though she doesn't have eyes. She has thrown herself off of shelves, caused sudden headaches and chest pains in anyone around her, and according to York, she's actually been caught blinking on camera. People who visit York's office often have to leave because they feel physically sick. York himself admits he feels ill working near her, and his family wants nothing to do with the doll. Still, he keeps her for, quote, research purposes. Now, personally, dude, if a doll is cussing at me, falling off shelves, making me feel sick, like I said before, man, I'm turning the grill on and turning this into, barbecue Janet.
Well, that's the thing that, like, and again, like I mentioned before with like eBay and like people buying these like cursed items, it's almost like they kind of get addicted to the idea of, and I mean, I get it. I mean, I've been on my own sort of journey of like, oh, I got to figure this thing out. I got to Woody's probably going to bail out, but I've already talked to Joshua Cutchin, and we're planning on spending a night in the loft that I used to live in.
Let me just clear the air here. The correct answer is Woody's not probably going to bail out. I am not going.
Okay, fine. Well, Joshua Cutchin and I are going to go. We're going to try to get some video of these orbs that I used to see all the time. And so I do understand the desire to like,
face it head on.
Yeah, kind of like, but then at the same time, I do feel like in my own story, I feel like that even in like your own behavior, I feel like that's the transaction. It's almost like by choosing not to get rid of this thing and choosing to actively like pay attention to it and watch it all the time and like see what you can get. There's the transaction. There's where you're giving the permission for things to happen. And again, as we see, it actually does happen.
Right. And so, I mean, like you're answering if anybody was going to ask the reasons why I won't go and do that, sounds like a good time. Why don't you? Nope. No, thank you. Not giving permission. I do not give permission. Okay. Y'all want me to meet you up there at Huddle House the next day? Maybe.
I mean, we're going to be safe though. We're bringing like several mediums.
Oh boy. That sounds like a different kind of party, but I'm not inviting myself. Okay.
I'm kidding.
Next up on our list of nightmare fuel is a doll named Grace. Grace is a doll owned by Welsh paranormal investigator Danny Moss. Grace doesn't just sit there looking creepy. She fights the glass case that she's kept in. Moss keeps her sealed in what he calls a blessed display box. But even that doesn't seem to stop her, man. According to him, the doll will bang on the glass and through one of those spirit box devices, which, by the way, I kind of glossed over that earlier. It's supposedly a device that scans white noise and filters out radio interference to sort of pick up potential spirit voices. In this case, Grace has been heard whispering a single chilling word. Release.
Whoa. Yeah, I think you see this a little bit in, I mean, they use several methods. They use like the Estes method and stuff, but you see it on Hellier, if you guys have checked it out. And so basically it's sort of scanning radio waves. And so say there's some radio show where the host is like, bazooka.
Yeah.
That one word would like come out. It's almost like the spirit is able to communicate by like grabbing these like single words out of these broadcasts.
And we talked about that in greater depth when we talked about, oh man, what was the one, dude, with the nails?
Oh, exactly. The Unbinding.
The Unbinding, right? The documentary. Yep. And to this day, I don't really know how I feel about it, Because then it's just like, okay, tell us where you're from. Aruga. And you're like, what the? Okay, we'll just ignore that one. It's just boing and barakakak. It's just like I don't know. It's
to me, I don't know though. That one did feel like the reason that I think that one kind of hit me in a way. I mean, granted, it is like the Newkirk, so it's the same people that made Hellier, and it's a documentary called The Unbinding. We talked about it on the show, but I do feel like the details again, like the little bits of high strangeness, like just random like puddles on the ground, just kind of weird stuff. Like that's the stuff that kind of like lures me in. Of like, okay, this isn't blood or scratches. This is like something that's just odd that I feel like you wouldn't naturally just come up with.
Yeah. Well, for example, so he's also said that he has captured her saying that she wants to, quote, burn his eyes out. Okay. He believes that the spirit attached to Grace may be that of a 16th century witch, which would certainly explain the violent energy he says surrounds her. I mean, over several months, he and his team had recorded repeating knocking sounds, always in sets of 3, and the same voice saying, "Release me." I guess what's especially sort of unnerving is that visitors near Grace have reported a burning sensation in their eyes, some even claiming temporary blurry vision. You know, of course, there's skeptics that sort of accuse Moss of faking his findings, and those skeptics even have admitted when they go and visit that, you know, they weren't a big believer, but then they visit it and it's like, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, not to keep kind of like harping on this, but I do wonder if like the aspect of, you know, you're kind of like, even for a skeptic, you're kind of coming in like sort of like front end loaded, so you already know like, oh yeah, and then there's people that are said to have like headaches or their eyes are burning or whatever, and so it's weird because some people could say, oh well, that's just a psychosomatic response, or that's just like a placebo effect or a nocebo effect. But then I go to, well, you know, it gets into the thought form egregore stuff, and it's like, well, maybe that's how this mechanism is working. So maybe there is an entity, but it's somehow able to activate that placebo effect.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is actually causing these things in a way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, we talk about this all the time on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, you know, we hear one of our kids' friends is throwing up, and immediately, dude. And in fact, my wife actually tries to keep that information from me at
like,
this point,
"Oh,
because I'm like,
man."
oof, I knew I felt a little weird today.
Yeah.
You know, I immediately feel sick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude.
We will return after these messages.
Some things never go out of style, like trust, reliability, and driving a Toyota. Take the legendary Tacoma and Tundra. Perfect for work and adventures. Hurry in. Offers end November 3rd. Toyota, let's go places.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
It's a pretty cool place if you're a Martian.
Or a vampire. You think you really know what's happening around here, don't you?
Is anyone out there?
We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
Hey, this is Woody.
And this is Tyler. And you're listening to That Would Be Rad.
And now, back to our show. Now, this one that I'm about to show you, I promise you it's not a joke. It looks creepy, but initially it just looks like I found a funny picture and I'm showing it to you. Now, it does look exactly like Tyler.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? This thing's like, looks like something from the Labyrinth.
Yeah.
This guy is named George. And George is one of the most infamous residents of the Nottingham Haunted Museum, okay? And he even made an appearance on the BBC show Bargain Hunt. If you're not familiar, it's a program where contestants hunt down antiques to flip at an auction. It's kind of like antique, what is it called? Antique Road Show or Roadhouse or something like that? I don't know. But when George, also such a British name for a doll, George. But when George showed up, it wasn't, just about profit. It was about sheer creepiness, okay? The doll dates back to the 1930s in Texas. I mean, that's 2 in a row here, that
weird.
Came from Texas and then made their way to the UK.
Yeah, strange.
And he's made from some really kind of disturbing materials, man. And this is what I mean. When you first look at it, you're just like, okay, it kind of seems like it's just a joke. But get this, dude. Now, as you're looking at it, listen to this. George has real human hair and what are said to be a dead man's glass eyes.
Yeah, that in my opinion kind of ramps up the I mean, even down to the scientific sort of view of like, have you ever heard of this? Like your hair holds memories?
I have heard that, yeah. And that's why but now Tyler would probably wear this guy's clothes.
Dead
man's coat, man. I'm not wearing no dead man's jacket.
No, but yeah, dude, that to me, that reminds me of like some of the old like sort of hoodoo or voodoo stuff where they would incorporate like, I mean, even like pagan sort of practices where it's like, oh, you got to have a lock of hair or, this
right.
from this person. It's like, man, once you're starting to use like human.
Oh, boy.
It's a little scary.
It's not a little scary. It's a lot of scary, if you ask me. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just weird also.
I agree. Yeah.
So when Mary Wesson brought him onto the show, she explained to host Charlie Ross that George had come from a family in Texas who just couldn't deal with him anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, folks, let me just stop right there. If anybody approaches you with anything, in this case a doll, but hopefully that would be obvious, but anything that say, I just can't handle it anymore. It's, making me throw up everywhere. It's keeping me up at night. It's making my chest. Don't accept it. Anyway.
Right.
So this lady said this. She says, he came to us from Texas, and back in the day, they would make things like George in memory of past loved ones. Anyways, this lady told Charlie Ross, this host, that he came from Texas and that he had the past family members' glass eyes and hair. Kind of strange that I guess their family member needed 2 glass eyes. Yeah. Maybe one was an extra, or did he have both? I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure it was. It's probably.
I'm probably gonna have nightmares. The family member, he came to us, she said, because the family was experiencing a lot of paranormal things with them. They would get headaches, and then their eyes would start hurting. So they took him to a few mediums, and apparently George wants his eyes and hair back. Eyes and hair back. And he can't rest. He can't be put to rest without him, basically. So in other words, to kind of sum it all up, these folks, I guess, clipped off old dead man George's hair, took his glass eyes, put him on this doll, named him George. Very strange.
Yep.
And then all this stuff started happening. So it's their belief, I guess, that they need to return that stuff. Now, I don't know why they didn't return it and instead sold it to this British lady. Kind of sounds kind of crappy, but for $1,000.
$1,000.
So think about this for a second. You've got a doll in your house that has literal parts of a dead relative.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then you start feeling all these violent headaches, burning sensations in your eyes. Things start to happen around the house. It's weird, man. And the fact, I'm not trying to, talk trash about mediums, but in every single case, including Ed and Lorraine Warren, who performed an exorcism, none of it's worked. No. So if all that stuff, it's either all that stuff hasn't worked because it's not powerful enough to do so.
Right.
Or
Lorraine was like known to be like a medium herself. So she
didn't work.
Yeah. And honestly, I kind of feel like in a lot of these cases that, and I've thought about this before, especially with like Ed and Lorraine Warren. I feel like, I wonder if it doesn't really work because she's, and this isn't me like throwing shade at the Warrens, but I do wonder if, because she's like in this sort of field, like by her, it's like, yeah, she's going through all the motions and they're doing all this stuff to exercise like these like spirits or whatever out. She's still like a fan of this stuff. So it's almost like, is that why none of this stuff actually kind of works? Because in a way she's not really like opposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they're keeping these like haunted and cursed objects like in their museum. So
yeah. This one stands out because it's sort of like a blurring line between antique keepsakes and something more sinister. And
for sure.
I don't know. That's all I have on that one, but it's just so weird. And I can't imagine it's the only time that people have done that,
Oh, yeah. 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 Back in the day, I mean, I've heard of like the hair thing, but I mean, that's like, you know, usually like really old objects.
Yeah, you just found
or
like jackets that you went on eBay.
Real quick before we move on, I made a reference earlier about this painting that we had talked about on a previous episode. Just to clarify, the painting was called "The Hands Resist Him," and it was done in 1972 by painter Bill Stoneham, and it was sold as a cursed painting in the year 2000 on eBay. So,
man,
that's what I was talking about before. I think I said the hands hold him or something, but yeah, it's a weird one. I definitely, you know, one thing I will say, to me, I'm a little more suspicious of like the mass-produced stuff. You know,
kind of like Peggy, the look of it.
Right. The look of it. Yeah. Like I do think there is something about, you know, as an artist, and I mean, you too, doing like miniatures and stuff. I mean, like we're talking like we're putting hundreds of hours of our like energy and our time, like to make something. I mean, you know, pieces of art that I'm just like, you know, hunched over, you know, just laboring over the tiniest of specks that nobody's ever even going to see probably. But you put that much into something, and for, you know, for me, like doing commissions and stuff, it's like I would always kind of feel this like weird kind of like sadness in a way when I had to like send them to the, you know, the people who bought them, the commissioners, because you put so much of yourself in this thing. And so I do wonder if there is something happening on that level too. So like, you know, specifically like with this doll, like putting, you know, your dead relatives, like taking his actual hair, like cutting the hair, putting that hair into the doll. Like, so not only are you using parts of him while he was alive, you're also sort of fusing that with like you laboring over this thing. So I think, I don't know, I feel like there's something probably to be said, even on like an energy, not to get all new agey, but like on an energetic level of like you putting so much of yourself into something to like make that thing.
Yeah.
If that in a way is how that thing, you know, would go on to take on a life of its own. In a way.
Yeah. It's freaky, man.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, Tyler, check out this picture. This is exactly what we're talking about. You know, you mentioned the mass production ones. This one kind of looks like one of those dolls from the movie Dolls in the 80s.
Dude, that is so scary to me.
Okay. This one is straight up the stuff of nightmares, okay? This is the story, verklempt. This is the story of Letta, also known as Letta Me Out, or more ominously, the doll from hell. Back in the 70s, there was a man named Kerry Walton who was exploring the ruins of an old abandoned house in New South Wales, Australia. The same street, in fact, that he'd grown up on, which sounds really fun, actually.
Yeah.
While poking around the dusty, broken remains of the place, he stumbled across something wedged beneath the floorboards. And it was an old wooden marionette doll with glass eyes and a terrifying face. It looked like someone had hidden it there deliberately, either to protect it or to make sure that it never got out. Listen to this, man. Now, as I'm saying this, please just keep looking at the picture of this doll.
Know.
Okay, first off, imagine finding that wedged between the floorboards, all right? Terrifying.
Smash.
Running away
Just
immediately. Just leaving.
Stomp on
What?
it.
There's
Yeah.
no VHS tapes in this abandoned house? I'm out of here. Okay. So when Kerry pulled it free, he said the sight of it nearly stopped his heart. He said this, quote, "I wasn't quite sure what it was. It was terrifying seeing that face in the dark. He makes Chucky look like a Sunday school student." Now, despite its ghastly appearance, Kerry figured it might be valuable. You know, he's thinking, for $1,000. So he kind of did what most horror movie characters do right before the credits roll. And that is, he took it home. He tosses it in the trunk of his car and starts driving, but halfway home, Jesus, and this is so scary. Halfway home, he hears this thumping coming from the trunk, like something alive is trying to get out. And then, dude, came a voice. A clear, distinct voice that said, "Letta Me Out." Carrie slams on the brakes. He jumps out of the car and threw open the trunk. There's nothing there, just the doll, which is slumped, motionless, staring back at him with his lifeless glass eyes. And that, dude, was just the beginning, because once Letta was inside this guy's house, strange things started happening fast. His 2 kids woke up one night, in the middle of the night, they're screaming, saying that the doll had been mumbling to itself and had even moved its head and arm. People would come and visit, and they claimed that they saw it move as well. And everyone that came near it reported feeling this crushing sense of dread, sometimes so intense that it made them nauseous or dizzy. The whole entire house was plagued with these vivid, disturbing nightmares, man. And then their dogs seemed to be the worst. They just went berserk around Letta, barking, growling, even trying to attack it. He said that the dogs absolutely hated this doll and tried to attack it and bite whenever it was around. Eventually, Carrie had the doll examined by experts. And they estimated it was, I don't know why this makes it even scarier. They estimated that it was nearly 200 years old, and that it was carved by Eastern European gypsies.
Dude.
Here we go, using real human hair.
Yeah.
Psychics who studied it said it was possessed by a restless spirit, and it was one that didn't want to be ignored.
Yeah, dude, I'm sending you this picture. It reminds me of you remember the little marionettes from Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Yeah.
There's something in that. They always have this
Those things kind of freak me out too, man.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Lady Elaine was her name, I think, that one. But they always have this long nose and protruding chin, and they're just I don't know, man. They're just so creepy. I mean, the one that the Letta one that you have, even his eyebrows are
Evil
there
looking.
to make him look angry almost. Yeah, it's so disturbing, man.
So news, of course, of Letta spread quickly across Australia, and it showed up in TV, magazines, ghost hunting shows, all that. One cameraman even swore that he saw Letta's head turn on its own to look directly at him. Years later, when Carrie fell on hard times, he tried to sell the doll. He even found a buyer that was offering $400. But when he arrived at her house, he said that something just wouldn't let him. He said that, quote, "We were really desperate for cash at the time, so I drove him to a woman's home who was going to buy him for $400. I physically couldn't get him out of the car. I can't explain it. It was some sort of force stopping me.
Wow.
These days, I wouldn't sell him for $1 million, but to be honest, I don't think I physically can." Isn't that wild, man?
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's weird that in some of these cases, it's don't you wonder that it's there's something about Letta that wants to terrorize the people that it's around, but then doesn't want to leave, I guess. It's possessive almost, you know?
Yeah. And why would he say he wouldn't even sell it for $1 million? Is that because he's sort of grown attached to it?
I think so.
Interesting.
I don't know. I bet he probably charges admission or whatever at this point.
Yeah.
Now for $1,000.
As soon as you get into ancient gypsy or sort of Jewish mysticism, there's something that's just so it's almost it just infuses so much more sort of legitimacy in something being weird or dark or not saying gypsies or whatever is dark, but there is something that just feels it's kind of that Gollum kind of vibe too,
Yeah. Now, if Letta is the doll from hell, then Ada might be his American cousin. She currently lives in the Museum of Shadows in Plattsmouth, Nebraska.
Sure. Yeah,
Plattsmouth.
sounded great.
It lives in the Museum of Shadows in Nebraska, a place already infamous for its collection of haunted and cursed items. The museum owners, Nate and Kaylee Raderman, say that Ada is one of the most dangerous objects in their entire collection. I didn't show you this one. Hold on. This is going back to that sort of classic porcelain doll look. All right.
Like Victorian.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Then check this out. The doll itself was crafted way back in 1889 in Germany, before eventually making its way into the hands of an American family who quickly realized that there was something very wrong with it. They claimed Ada would move around the house on her own, sometimes even chuckling to herself. Naturally, they tried to get rid of her. They tossed the doll, and this goes to my point with, like, why aren't people burning these things and melting them into, or busting them up into pieces? They tossed Ada into a landfill. But just a few days later, Ada was sitting right back on their front porch.
Yeah, that's a common Ouija board sort of trope as well. Like, you go to destroy this thing, you bury it, you put it in a landfill, you burn it, and then it just pops right back up, just perfectly clean.
Well, this time she wasn't perfectly clean. She was actually dirty and missing her eyes.
Oh, wow.
So they got extremely terrified. They put her into a trash bag, tie it up, and dump her again. But like some cursed boomerang or something, man, she reappeared at the house once again. So this is around the time when the family decides that they need some professional help. And so that's how Ada found her way to the Museum of Shadows. Even getting her there almost is its own horror story, man, because while they were driving her to the museum's sort of private quarantine area, they said that as they started to drive there, they heard this deep whisper coming from the back of the SUV saying, "I want out." That was then followed by the sound of a child crying. Once she got to the museum, the activity didn't stop. She would be found in different locations, even when she'd been locked away in secure containers. People who stand near her have said that it triggers severe migraines, dizziness, lethargy, stomach pains. In fact, Nate and Kaylee, the owners, when they were restoring her, they said that they wore hazmat suits whenever handling it because that's, what it took. And even that, he said, wasn't nearly enough. So she now sits sealed up at the Museum of Shadows, occasionally brought out for brave or foolish visitors to see for themselves.
I would be curious to see, because I'm like so prone to migraines and stuff. I would be curious to see if
got
that
a couple of haunted dolls laying around.
Well, no, but I mean, what if that really was like the source of all my migraines? No, but I would be curious to see if someone being prone to migraines already, if it just like triggered them.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you need to
go to the Museum of Shadows.
Go to Nebraska. All right. The last one for today, I love. This one is less porcelain doll and more something out of a folk horror film. Paranormal investigator and author Kevin Kane, who is a guy who has an entire collection of haunted dolls, says this one stands out above the rest. He calls her Voodoo Mama. Now, unlike the glass-eyed nightmares that we've talked about so far, Voodoo Mama is a small wooden doll with hinged arms and legs, and you guessed it, human hair. So the most unsettling detail, though, is the maker left her eyeless with only these dark, empty sockets. Kane explains that dolls like this are part of a Haitian tradition, and they're usually left at the graves of loved ones by mourners, sort of meant to act as conduits to help guide the spirit of the deceased into the afterlife. But this one, according to him, is tied to something far darker. Kane actually connects Voodoo Mama to an unsolved death he wrote about in his book called My Haunted Collection, The Dark Side. The case centers on a man he refers to as Daniel McKent, which is, according to him, a pseudonym to protect the family. In 2016, Daniel was found dead outside his home in Vestavia Hills, Alabama, killed by a single gunshot wound to the head. At first glance, investigators leaned towards self-unaliving, okay?
There you go.
Only his fingerprints were on the rifle, but other details didn't add up. The gun was found a distance away from his body. The autopsy revealed that the bullet entered at the back of his skull, and no suspect was ever named. After Daniel's death, his friend Marilyn, who also served as his estate executor, moved into his home to inventory his collection of artifacts for auction. And that's when the weirdness began. She reported footsteps, knocking on the walls that would stop when she entered, pots and pans clinking around in the kitchen, and even the sound of construction coming from the basement. One night, Daniel's spirit allegedly manifested in front of her, letting out a furious scream, and then vanished. Kane and his team investigated with standard paranormal tools, the EMF detectors, thermal readers, and a spirit box. The EMF led them to the fireplace, where they uncovered a loose brick with a hidden compartment. Now, let me rewind it and just make sure that everybody heard that correctly. The same kind of devices that I kind of, make fun of a little bit, led them to a place where there's a loose brick with a hidden compartment.
Well, EMF detectors are just picking up electromagnetic fields.
Still.
They're not like ghosts just for ghost
Right,
hunting.
but I'm just saying, what kind of electromagnetic field does a empty brick or a loose brick give off? It's
what's in there.
Okay, well, it was empty when they found it, but it looked like something had been hidden there. Okay, more chilling were the responses on the spirit box. Words like money, murder, and Marilyn swore that the voice they heard belonged to Daniel. And then came the connection to this doll. Marilyn remembered Daniel showing her this voodoo mama before his death. According to her, Daniel had received it from a Haitian woman who warned him it was cursed, that it would bring tragedy to whoever kept it in their home. Daniel, being a skeptic, sort of laughed it off and named it Voodoo Mama and added it to his collection. Not long after, his life unraveled. Debt, business collapse, depression, and then his own demise.
Wow.
Marilyn truly believed that the doll was the root of it all. And when it came time to sort the estate, she refused to sell it with the other items, saying that she couldn't put that kind of curse in someone else's home. Instead, she asked Kane to take it away. So Kane now keeps Voodoo Mama as part of his haunted collection. He admits that while the doll itself might look simple, it carries this strange aura that feels heavy, dangerous, and tied to tragedy. And I don't know, to me, it's just like sometimes it's not just that a doll is haunted, but it could be a curse in disguise.
Yeah, so this leads me to, I guess this is where we can kind of like get into the sort of some theories and stuff. Or do you want to wait?
Well, I tell you what, I think this is a good place to say our farewells for this week, because I have tons more, not just, haunted dolls to talk about, but also these abandoned dolls in abandoned places and haunted dolls in international cultures and stuff that, are just absolutely fascinating. So why don't we just kind of give our thoughts at the end of next week's episode when we continue.
I love it. And if you're ready to give your thoughts on this episode, feel free to do so on our Instagram. Drop us a line, leave a comment, join the discussion. If you want to give your own sort of story and have it in your own voice to make it in a future episode of That Would Be Rad, you can do so by leaving a voice memo over at our website, thatwouldberadpodcast.com. We'll put sound design to it, and you'll become part of That Would Be Rad history. I guess that's about it. The leaves are starting to change a little down here in the South. It's starting to get a little spooky in the mornings and the nights. But yeah, I'm loving this time of year, and I can't wait till the next episode. Keep this train rolling, here in October. What do you got? Anything else?
I think that's
all
it,
right, pal. Well, we love you. We appreciate you. Stay spooky. And as always,
be rad.
That's the way it goes. Clouds in a time where I just needed some sunshine. You were already dead before you became a ghost. You always said our future would be a parade